All right, everybody, welcome back. This is actually going to be the second to last episode, as it turns out. So welcome back to our season 2, episode 8 recap. This one is called The Eternal Engine.
Is that true? There's just 9 episodes.
Yeah, so the next one is like a double episode. It's a 2-hour season finale, so I don't know if they'll break it up for you on Netflix, but I doubt they will. But when they say 2 hours, they really mean an hour and a half and 30 minutes of commercials. So
I mean, those commercials, you've got to get you've got to get those insurance ads and State Farm, and
I'll tell you what I do know. I'll tell you that Sting, who was part of my childhood,
how would you know The Masked Singer is on television if it wasn't for commercials?
Dude, that's not TNT. We can't be going across platforms here. It's AEW, which is some sort of new wrestling platform thing that's trying to go WWE, and they brought back Sting, who must be 75 years old. I don't know if you were.
He wears makeup, like you can hide it.
It's good. At least you got that reference. I was just like, yeah, us 90 kids, that's all we knew is WWE.
Talking about glory in the past, I knew it was going to be bad for Roach at the beginning of the episode when I saw that this is a man who, when he realized that the world was ending and he had to go on a train, he decided, what do we need to keep from humanity? Oh, I remember my Chicago Bears jersey. Why would you bother? Why wouldn't you bring the last copy of War and Peace, or I don't know, something like this? Chicago, you know what? The world's ending. I'm going with Mitch Trubisky. Let's go.
No.
Oh, he got traded. He got released.
I was going to say.
Oh, sorry. Andy Dalton.
There you go. Thank you.
Right.
Red Rocket, baby. Yeah, I didn't even pick up on that, funnily enough. But yeah, it's interesting because we obviously talked last episode about not knowing about his family, and then they were the center point of this episode, almost.
Yeah. Before we get into kind of our predictions from last week, I actually watched them again. Quite interesting, entertaining watching, especially for you. What did you think of this episode?
I wasn't a big fan again.
Yeah, I kind of felt the same.
It lacked elements of plot development that I really wanted. I think had this been like a 16 episode season, then they'd be able to develop it better. And I don't know whether this is a COVID thing, which I kind of doubt, because I would imagine they would have finished the filming before COVID.
I mean, what's COVID stopping now? I mean, apart from like fans in stadiums, but like, I work every day. You work every day, and you work in hospitality, and you still work in, regular.
Oh, got my first shot the other day on St. Patrick's Day.
Very good.
Yeah, I felt like crap in the evening.
Coronavirus chaser.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, next shot I get, I'll probably be rocking a fever. But anyways, moving on from COVID, because I try not to talk about that as much as possible. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but these last episodes, they weren't filler episodes. They were just a fast-forward episode for me, both of them. And they really missed out on a lot of interesting plot points, which I would have enjoyed.
Yeah, because it seems like, if we're going to kind of do the pyramid of characters, you've got the top tier, the GOAT debate, where you've got Leighton, you've got Wilford, you've got Melanie. They're the big three, right? And then you have this like secondary, and I'd probably call them Till, Ruth, Roach, Audrey, Alex, Ben, kind of that layer. And then underneath you've got, the Australian people, and
LJ, Oz.
Right, yeah, all those. So like, it seems like that second rank of people, they've kind of been mixing them around. You've had like, they invested so much in Ruth and Till in the last few episodes, and then nothing today.
Yep.
And then it kind of went back to like Audrey and Josie as well. It kind of went back to her as well. I mean, the best way I'd describe it is like, you've got like the LeBron, KD, Kyrie, and then underneath you've got like, Harden, Embiid, Giannis, that second layer, I'd call them a perennial all-star.
Just upset that you put Kyrie in that. of a tear. I'm just very upset at you right now because.
Oh, sorry, Julius Randle as well.
But excuse me, quickly. I say quickly. Let's put some respect on his name.
Yep, true.
For all of you non-basketball fans, it would be like the equivalent of no. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think they tried to develop the characters by making them almost the narrators of the episodes, but really the only part that's narrated is the first 30 seconds to a minute of the episode. And so
I quite liked that little narration by Roach, though. I wish they'd done that more. And, you know, even a different person every episode, that'd be awesome. Different perspectives of the train.
They did. So they did, but they didn't develop it enough. Right? Yeah. That's my point, is like they start from the beginning. Like we had the Till episode where she's talking about everything. And I'm like, great. We get to see the train through Till's eyes. And each episode, we're 8 episodes in, and I've been fooled every single time at the beginning of the episode going, yeah, we're going to get to see the train from a different viewpoint. And then after that first scene, then they just cut to the regular episode. And it would be so great to have like a proper narration throughout the whole episode from whoever they started the episode with. You know, this way it allows them to build the other character, but also,
Carry on, I can hear you.
Yeah, but also at the same time continue developing the story. You know, what they've done is they've sacrificed the character development in order to just, you know, I don't know, continue doing the story. But yeah,
sorry, I had predictions. This is why I'm moving around, because I had predictions from last week, and I wrote them down. And
I told you
away that piece
LJ,
of paper. So let me go through what I predicted first.
No, I told you.
I predicted first. Right. I predicted, number 1, Wilford is in the engine at the end of the train.
We agreed with that.
Ka-ching.
We both agreed on that.
Okay, well, I said it first. Secondly, I said Taylor will get killed. I'm 1 week early on that. That's happening next week. Number 3, I said Alex will betray Wilford. I think I thought it was going to be longer as a season, but I'm 2 weeks early on that, basically.
Hold on. You said a secondary character was going to get killed, not a Taylor.
If you look back and watch the tape, I said like maybe a head Taylor, maybe someone like that. Yeah.
I just want to, you know.
Like a kind of, like a Blake Griffin style character, like known yet not upper echelon talent.
All right.
And you predicted a lot of stuff. Do you remember any of them?
Yeah, well, I told you LJ's relationship was going to blossom, and I was right about that.
No, you said LJ and Alex's relationship.
I know. I'm very well aware of that.
Yep.
That fell flat on its face.
Yeah.
I said Leighton. I believe I said Leighton was going to lose power, but I don't remember.
The thing about the episode was, it kind of made me hate Leighton because he was freaking useless.
Timid.
Just useless. Just at the end, I was like, well, maybe it's best if Wilford's just back in charge. Like,
I don't agree with that 100%, but I do, you know, and I think that this is going to set up a way. Here's my prediction. This is going to set up a way too speedy civil war back to Leighton somehow running it, despite the fact that he's just been completely and totally broken down in this episode.
You know, it's interesting because I had no idea that next week's episode is like the last one, because
sad.
I would have predicted the next couple of, let's say it's a 16 episode season. I was going to say the next 4 or 5 episodes are life on the train under Wilford's watch, right? And it's like, It starts good and it progressively gets bad. And then you got to remember, in Big Alice, we now have Leighton. We've got Alex, who's obviously going to be pissed off in about 1 week's time, 2 weeks' time when they drive past her mother. You've got Josie there. You've got Audrey, and who knows what's going on there. So there's going to be like a takeover of Big Alice, and the revolution's going to happen kind of in reverse. You know, especially when you've got like Ben up front, and he can help with stuff. You got a Russian guy who's now like Leighton's guy, gave him the coin.
Bosky.
What's he called?
Bosky.
I can never get it when they kind of mention his name.
The only way I got it is because somebody said it in its long form. It's like Boskowitz.
Boscanovich or something, right?
Yeah, Boskanovich or something like that. So I had originally...
Right, so like, I kind of thought that was going to be the story arc for the next 4 or 5 episodes. And it's almost like, do you rush through that? What could be a really cool story? Do you rush through that in 1 hour, 30 minutes plus 30 minutes commercials? Or do you you leave it hanging for the next season?
No. They're going to do the revolution because they've sped everything else up. So why not speed up the revolution as well?
Yeah.
It really is. I think they're doing a real disservice to it. Also, just a side point, I was laughing at this as I was thinking about my predictions and all the rest of it. Not that I got them wrong, but the fact that we predict every episode, right? And it's almost like predicting Star Wars because the book's written. So if there's anybody out there that's watching this and is going, you guys are idiots. These aren't predictions. They're following along in a book.
I've never bought the book.
Neither have I. I'm just saying, I can only imagine somebody like tuning into this and going like, all right, let's take a look at these two guys breaking it down. They're predicting something that's already happened. I just got a chuckle out of that. But yeah, I think that they're gonna rush things a little too much. They'll leave. I have a really bad feeling that the end scene of the final
driving past Melanie.
Absolutely 100%. It's going to be so obnoxious because that's the only thing I can think of that gets me back for next season. Not me personally.
I need to see some. I don't know.
But why else would they drive past? Like, if the next episode is next 2 episodes really, I guess is what you could call it, are the last 2 episodes, right? It's not just going to be like Wilfred sitting there in the train, all cushy, going, we're not going to stop for Melanie. It has to be because a revolution is currently going on, and therefore there are no communications or something along those lines. Maybe they're distracted and they can't communicate with her. I'm not really sure. But it's not just going to be like, yeah, F her, we're not going to pick her up. You know what I mean?
It depends. I mean, it might be because like Wilfred's... I actually think it's not going to be that. I think it's going to be they drive past her, then there's like some revolution, and then actually I was thinking maybe we disconnect the trains. I know at that one point we can't disconnect the trains, but we could disconnect from further up the train, basically, couldn't we? Like we could disconnect basically so the tail joins Big Alice.
Yeah, but then you're talking about a mid-engine car, Richard. I guess they could push, but I think at a certain point, the push-pull on the train, I'm just trying to think scientifically here, right? The push-pull of the engine on Big Alice.
It's so flexible. Any of this science is so flexible in the story.
It's fake. Yeah, we know that the science is fake. I am aware. I'm just
Chuck Jodie out of the train. She can get now she's cold resistant.
Right? I see Josie, right?
Josie.
Yeah, all right. So let's get into a little recap of this because there's not a lot to cover, but there's some to cover.
So the big story was there's obviously Snowpiercer is split in terms of opinion, Wilfred or Leighton, and it seems probably it was swaying Wilfred's side anyway with all those candles we saw in the windows on the previous episode. And also we're starting to get various problems coming in Snowpiercer with their hydrogen filtration that they use to basically get water, and there's springing up leaks and there's high pressure and it's slowing the train down. They need somebody to go outside and fix it, and they get Bosky, the last breachman, to go outside and fix it. They somehow persuade him to do it, and he does because it's his job, and he's a consummate professional.
He's loyal to Snowpiercer.
And he goes outside and he finds that there's this huge bolt has been wedged into the gills, they call them, like the opening vents.
I believe it's a Wilfred 10 gauge, I believe is what he called it.
Right. And it was clearly sabotage. And it turns out that it's because Icy Bob walked 10 miles to the front of the train and stuck a 10 gauge in it.
Yeah. So this is where I want more, right? Like, I want to see Wilfred plan this because, it'd be great to see, like, I understand that, he's devious and cunning and we're supposed to expect this out of him. But I'd love to have some sort of conversation that he has with somebody where he's just like, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to send Icy Bob out there. I'm going to have him do this.
That's one of two things that I thought, just why do you skip all of this? Like,
yeah,
you know, Leighton puts up a flare and then he's arrested and he's getting sent to Big Alice. Like, I mean, this is like 12 hours and it's split into 20 seconds and that kind of annoyed me as well.
But the only breakdown of his plan was done by Alex as she's figuring it out over the course of the episode. But, you know, there's questions that I have about the plan, right? Like the plan to take Snowpiercer is cunning, you know, Wilford gets up, you know, they have to bring him up forward to Snowpiercer so that way he can, you know, fix the computer system, right?
Right, because this overloading pressure kind of blew some systems, and Wilford basically has like the god. I wrote it down.
Yeah, so I did not.
The god module.
There you go. Yeah.
He's got like the spare parts of that.
So, but then they run into the issue that Melanie has installed bogey motors and overrode the God module. So, like, did he plan for it? I know he says he hasn't planned for it, but, like, did he plan for it? Because he seemed to have the answer very quickly. And as we've discussed in previous recaps, we don't feel as if Wilford is the most cunning engineer, right? Like, Melanie was the reason why the train was going. Melanie designed
but then, like, I mean, he definitely saved Snowpiercer this week.
I know, but he seems to now know things that, for me, are beyond his intelligence. I understand he's smart and he's intelligent and, you know, his plan was to design the train. But at no point during season 1 or season 2 do I really believe that he is the driving force behind the engineering of the train.
Mm-hmm.
She is. And if she did something cunning like reroute the, you know, the computer system and the bogey motors, you know, I don't understand what fake words that they use to describe something more intelligent. For something that doesn't actually exist in the world, then there's no way he can figure that out in that short of a time. And nor can he figure it out that calmly by going, Raffi, you're going too slow. Here, Leighton, you don't know what you're doing. I shall step in and save the day.
I did like how we found out that Javier was on the toilet when Melanie stole Snowpiercer.
You were literally with your pants down. Also, just a little side note, as Wilford's coming through, I think this is the first time in the season he calls him Mr. Leighton instead of King Leighton. I could be wrong about that because I would have to go back and actually watch every episode again, but he very specifically calls him, as he's coming through with his fur jacket on, he goes, "Hello, Mr. Leighton," and then proceeds to, you know, obviously drive a wedge between what Leighton can do and, you know, what Snowpiercer needs, which is how he eventually takes over the train, because he says, you know, Leighton, you know, you may be, essentially he says, Leighton, you may be a leader of the people, but you have no effing idea what's going on here. You know, and that's what unseats Leighton, because he can't do anything about the engine or the problems, because he just quite simply doesn't know. But there's so many holes. You know, I'm really not enthralled these last 2 episodes.
Well, before we get into kind of, you know, predictions and the kind of the whole repercussions of it, LJ and Oz kissed. Let's look at a couple of the smaller stories that went on. Yes. LJ and Oz kissed. What do you think about that?
Isn't she 17?
Yeah, I think I thought that.
It's nice. See, it's always nice when somebody understands you a little bit, and I know that was probably one of the things that you thought about as well. Like, he's definitely 17. He might be, but I doubt it. I mean, he's got the facial hair. He seems to be a little bit older. I guess, you know, once the world freezes over, a little, you know, casual pedophilia is all right.
But didn't they say something in season 1? Like, he was a pro soccer player, and he got... Yeah, he tells Till once he was like a pro soccer player, and then he got kind of, you know, released or something.
So he's 32, you know.
Right, yeah, basically, yeah. And plus, they've been on Snowpiercer for like 7 years, so...
Yeah. I mean, last season was all about how young she was, and now she seems to have matured into this wonderful 17-year-old. I actually, I don't know, she's very strange to me. She's a very strange character because every time it sort of seems like she's headed in the right direction, she just says something about Wilford, and you're like, okay, I thought you were changing, but you're really not. Although she does seem to be enjoying getting calluses on her hands.
Wow. Yeah.
I think it's love triangle with Alex. I'm just gonna keep pushing that forward.
Right, you're dying on that hill, aren't you?
All right. So another side story is Josie. Let's talk about Josie.
She seems to be kind of on the mend, let's say, with the goo. And there was that weird scene that I don't really know what they were doing with it, with Wilford and the wooden hand, and that's kind of working out the sensations, the false sensations of still having a hand.
Have you never seen that before?
No.
That's a real thing. Like, they literally do that with people. Like, this was like the least.
Viewers, Dan is from an esteemed family of doctors.
It's nothing to do with that. Well, maybe it was a documentary I watched when I was younger. I don't really know. No, it wasn't. It may be a documentary about Oscar Pistorius. Who knows? No, but like this is genuinely like a very common practice that they do with amputees in order for them to realize that they have no hand there or they have no limb there, is that they cover it and they make them look at it, and then they show you have no sensation. I thought that was just a silly thing. Sorry you didn't know about that. I thought it was elementary. But here's my question. Do you think that Wilford already knows who Josie is? Because obviously Audrey does, and they sit down and have a conversation, Audrey and Josie, and Audrey seems to have completely turned to the dark side. So, and she seems to know all about Wilford's plan. That's who I really would have liked to see the conversation with. But, yeah, do you think that Wilford knows who Josie is?
Yes. But what I'm quite interested in is, like I said before, now Wilford's in the engine. And he's not traveling 10 miles every day to sleep in his bed, right? He's staying up in the engine. So now, in Big Alice, you got Leighton, you got Josie, you got Audrey, who she's a good actress. Yet. Maybe she's not completely dark side.
Yeah, I've been thinking that as well.
You got Kevin, who is now like hypnotized by Audrey.
Kevin, my man.
You've got the Australian chick who would follow anyone, and you've got Icy Bob. And could Josie turn Icy Bob? So that's what I think. That's where that counter revolution is going to come from.
There's a lot of power to be had there, and Leighton still holds, we'll call it 1/3 of people in Snowpiercer, and he holds some very important Roche, Bosky.
But isn't Roche in stasis now?
I don't think so. I genuinely don't think so. I think he still supports Leighton.
No, but isn't he in like a stasis morgue?
Good question. I don't remember the last. I literally had 5 minutes left of rewatching it.
So, no, like at the end, it's like he.
Yeah, I know. I had 5 minutes.
He
left,
gives Leighton to the jackboots, and then they say, "Oh, you're wanted at the back," and then Audrey takes him to this morgue, like where they've got the filing cabinets of people, and like his wife's in one of them, and his daughter's in another one, and it kind of leaves it like he's getting in one.
Oh, I didn't think he was. Well, I don't know. I don't know if he's getting in one or if he's not getting in one, but
they can wake him up anyway, and
be part of the revolution. We saw that with Big Boy or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Strong Boy.
Strong Boy. Yeah, I think it's called Strong
Boy. But yeah, I think especially Ruthie, like they really just went over her in this episode and just didn't include her at all. We got a scene with her walking in wellies, and
talking to Roach's wife.
Yeah, and then talking to Roach's wife, and then we had her at the very beginning, not throwing up the W, right? During the funeral.
The Breachman funeral, yeah.
Right. So I think she's very, very, very loyal to Leighton at this point, and and I think that means in her mind that she's loyal to Snowpiercer, because I think she sees the fault in Wilford's ways, and she'll provide some sort of resistance against Wilford in the upcoming civil war, so to speak.
What about Audrey?
So hard to tell. It's so hard to tell because I agree she's a very good actress, and one of the things that I've disliked about the last 3 or 4 episodes is that it seems to have glazed over any sort of like there was no defining scene where I felt her like really struggling with her identity. You know, it's sort of like she went over to Big Alice. And then we had that one scene where maybe she was gonna do the comms, maybe she wasn't. And then we had like a tiny scene, like it was like less than a minute long, where she decided to convert Kevin, or whatever, they had the conversation about it, and then she just went and did it. And everything just seemed she just got turned so quickly from being on Snowpiercer's side to seemingly being on Wilford's side. So I don't know if she actually is or if she isn't, and I don't have enough detail to be able to make any assumptions about this, and I don't like that. So
also, what about Alex? What's your prediction for where Alex's story's heading?
She's got to do something against Wilford. I don't know what power she has, but
well, I mean, she knows how to work Big Alice. She's probably the best engineer on Big Alice, especially now Wilford's off it.
She might be the best engineer on the trains in general.
I mean, if she's been taught by Wilford personally for 7 years and then got some advice from her mother, yeah.
So
especially with Melanie off it, yeah. I don't know. Ben's pretty strong.
When I say I don't know what power she has, I just genuinely don't know what convoluted scientific thing they're gonna have her do she's going to speed up Big Alice and then break it fast, and then that's going to somehow mess up with Snowpiercer. They're just going to come up with something that she's going to do, and I just can't predict what she's going to do because I just don't know the fake science well enough, so to speak. But yeah, I think there'll be. I have a weird feeling that Audrey is definitely for Snowpiercer, or for Leighton's faction of Snowpiercer, and somehow she's going to bring Leighton, Josie, Alex together in the engine room of Big Alice, and there's going to be some sort of conversation about what to do, and then somehow that's going to start the revolution. Kind of like you discussed. I think we'll have a scene like that, and Alex will be the brains behind it, and Leighton will be the soul behind it. Josie will be the iciness behind it and won't really contribute anything, and Audrey is somehow going to play her part in it as well. She'll talk about Wilford's weaknesses or something like that.
Yeah, because she's got the inside info on him. A couple of scenes just from a cinematographic viewpoint was like when they turned all the lights off on the train. I thought that was kind of a cool shot.
With Bosky sitting there and then turn it off on him.
Yeah, that cool.
Was like the NFL hype video.
Yeah, and then the kind of
Jack guy with the fucking sledgehammer or something like that.
Oh yeah, like flipping a big tire or whatever they do. Yeah, that was a good one. I also quite liked it when Wilford got on the tannoy. I thought that was quite a nice little scene.
I hated that scene because Leighton just gave up like a pussy.
I also liked it when it kind of went very quickly from once like Wilford's got the train and it went from Leighton and then it went to like Till and Roach and Ben and Ruth, and you could kind of see on all their faces that they'd backed the wrong horse, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, I agree. So let's see, predictions. I think we've sort of made our predictions through all of this. I think Leighton leads. I'll just sort of break it down into characters because I think that's the best way. I think we both agreed that because next episode's last.
You got to try something, right?
Of course I do. I'm going to predict.
This is like going from a 3-4 to a 4-3 defense mid-season.
I'm going to try a boxing 1 to stop James Harden in the playoffs, which you don't need to do because he stops himself. Yeah. So I think Leighton leads. I mean, and I'm not really going out on a limb on these. Leighton leads the heart and soul of the revolution, aka the actual physical part of it. I think we'll see him in some nice action scenes next week. With some sort of weaponry.
He looks broken. He looks a broken man.
But he'll do it, because what else will his character do? Just sit there and
weep? It's annoying, because I'd have liked to have seen kind of 2, 3, 4 episodes of the general realization that Wilford's a monster amongst the mob, because he seems to kind of have 60%, 70% support on the train, but I'd have liked for that to go down, and that can only go down through some kind of brutal regime that's been installed. And I don't know if he's got time, or I don't know if it's going to be good watching for a 40-minute brutal regime being installed.
Right. I don't think it's going to be a brutal regime. I think he does something that very clearly signals to, either Alex or Alex and Audrey, or Alex, Audrey, and maybe one other person that, life under Wilford is really not good.
But is he not going to have to do something that pisses the whole train off?
Maybe it's driving past Melanie. Maybe you're right. Maybe
that's going to piss the whole train off.
I don't know.
If I was a passenger, I don't know if it's going to piss me off.
Well, it's a promise to the outside world if he does it blatantly,
But I think as well, if I remember that Melanie episode, there's brakes on. I'm pretty sure Big Alice has the brakes on when it's going past her, because you can see sparks flying everywhere. I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember that either. You might be right, but that would be Alex instead of
right.
Yeah. So I think Wilford would do something that just breaks with some faction. I'm not sure if Audrey's involved in that or not, because like I said, we haven't seen enough character development for her. I just genuinely can't predict anything for her.
Ben just kill Wilford in the engine?
Yeah, wouldn't you wish? While he's high as all get up, just go up behind it. But just put some arsenic in the joint. Just kill him nice and easy. Burn his lungs out.
Just anything really.
We'll have some big deaths. I'm gonna predict Javier.
I'm gonna say Audrey. End of the season. I'm saying Audrey.
Okay, I'm fine with that. I wouldn't mind that either, because I really don't like her character. Not a big fan of her at all. And that's not.
Josie's not dying. Josie's like the cockroach.
Oh, Josie's the new Terminator.
Right? Yeah, she's not dying.
She is Sarah Connor, baby. She may be the secret weapon.
I hated Sarah Connor as well.
I never saw the movies. I'll be honest with you. I have never. I'm gonna make an honest admission here. I have never seen a movie featuring Arnold Schwarzenegger to completion.
That's incredible.
I know, right?
Terminator 2 is the greatest sequel in film history.
I feel like I might be able to disagree with that. Harry Potter 2. Harry Potter 2.
Empire Strikes Back. Yeah, you could probably say Empire Strikes Back's better.
All of a sudden, we blow up on the internet because Rich makes some ridiculous proclamation. Thank you for making this go viral. If you've tuned into a minute,
I don't care, haters. Come back at me with a better one. Okay, I'll accept Empire Strikes Back. Maybe I'd still say Terminator 2, just because we've had 8 bad Star Wars movies in a row now. So the Star Wars movie franchise is out. Come back to me.
That second, the last Lord of the Rings movie was good. The second one was absolute trash.
That's like a book, right? Like you can't count that. Someone wrote that 100 years ago, and then they just made a film of it. It's
well, it's not 100 years. Well, I guess it's coming up on it. It was 60 years ago, I think.
It was 1930 he wrote it, I'm pretty sure.
I thought it was the 50s or 60s, but I could be wrong. Doesn't really matter. Till is good. Till and Ruthie are going to join the revolution somehow, some way. They'll influence some people. I think Roche isn't dead. I don't think he's in the lockers. I think that's just some sort of scare tactic. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I think Alex will do something. Like I said, I don't know the science, but she'll do something to combat Wilford. And who am I missing here? Oz and LJ. I don't think that they're going to play a big part in next episode. Maybe, maybe they're just cuddling in bed for the whole episode.
In their cleaners overalls.
Yeah.
So a little bit of an unknown for this last episode of the season. It's almost that choice of, do they rush it and try and fit everything into this double episode, or do they try and hang something up for the next season? What is that? I would prefer taking the slow option, but I don't think they will.
Yeah, I think as fans of the show, you always want the slow action. You want the correct course of action to be done. But from the Hollywood, they have to do something that draws back. We'll obviously watch because we've obviously invested enough of our time to make a podcast about it. But for the casual viewers, they're going to have to action pack it, make sure that people want to come back, and they'll leave them hanging on, like I said, possibly the last scene being them driving past Melanie. And then you're just like, tune in next season to see what happens outside, only for them to cancel the season.
I hope not.
Don't do. Yeah, so do I. But yeah, just quickly before we do sign off here, if you happen to not speak English and want to learn English, check out Rich's YouTube page.
Got quite a lot of stuff on IELTS speaking parts 2 and 3. If you're doing the IELTS exam, if you want to get a visa, you want to move to America, you want to move to Canada, you want to move to Australia, you want to move to Britain, you want to move to Ireland, you need to take the IELTS exam, especially if you want to go to university in those countries. So you need to get your speaking level up. So have a look on my page because you will see lots of parts 2 and 3 with some great vocabulary, great structures, and really the level needed for you to get accepted into those institutions.
And for those of you looking for a slightly morbid laugh or wanting to know what's on my mind, which may be 2 or 3 of you, you can tune into my page, Bird in the Hand Podcast. I post short clips as well as one long form. It's basically just me rambling. So if you enjoy this space and all of that forehead, then tune in. All right.
But you do have a couple of themes you go back to quite a lot. You talk about kind of, how to deal with our problems and mental resilience. I mean, you're not kind of always just giving solutions. You're kind of discussing it and discussing kind of some of the problems you've had as well. And it's quite interesting for everybody.
I'll just let you know that my my mom, my biggest fan, right? She's tuned into all the episodes. She commented on my most recent joke and she was like, "This is my favorite one yet." It was about suicide. So if you like jokes about suicide, come check out my page. All right, see you guys.
Thanks, everybody. See you next week for the finale of the season.
Yep.